Hi everyone, this is AJ. Welcome back to the channel. So today I thought I'd take a look at all of my Spider-Man Blu-rays and 4Ks and take a look at what I've got. Also taking a look at a couple of collectible models that I have and a couple of comic books from my vast array of comic collection stuff, all to do with Spider-Man. So let's get into it. Okay, so first up, I'm going to go through the films and that sort of thing. So first of all, I have obviously Spider-Man, the original 2002 version, I believe this was. Sam Raimi directed, Tobey Maguire. Then 2004, I believe, Spider-Man 2, second of the Sam Raimi trilogy. And followed by 2007's Spider-Man 3, the last of the Sam Raimi era trilogy. These are all Blu-ray releases that I had when they came out. Thusly, with 4K coming about, I upgraded and I got a hold of this free movie set of 4K versions of Spider-Man in this lovely book sort of release. Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff in it, and the films are sort of presented in sort of envelope style. You get the 4K and the Blu-ray for each film, and you get the editor's cut of Spider-Man 3, which I've only just watched a few weeks ago. First time I watched that. Not Spider-Man 3, but the editor's cut. Now, I have done a review for every Spider-Man film. I've done a series in the lead up to the new film called A Tangled Web, which you can go and check out. And also done a ranking for the films and then a review for the new film. So if you are interested, please, why not go and check those things out. I'll give you my thoughts on the new Spider-Man film and how I rank them. In the review for the new one, I do say where I'd place that film within a ranking. Yeah. So anyway, so next up, I have the 4K version of The Amazing Spider-Man. I did have the Blu-ray as well, but I sold it on in a sort of a lot sale of stuff that I had sort of doubles of. So yeah, The Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which isn't a very good film at all. Now, this is the only Spider-Man film I don't have on 4K, and for good reason. I find it hard to sit through, difficult to watch. I feel that the series ultimately went nowhere without a third part, because you got the subplot revolving around Peter Parker's parents and this sort of a thing, and that all amounted to nothing. Not that it was even needed in the first place in the context of the films. But yeah, so ultimately it's a series that ends up going nowhere because we didn't get a part 3. But interestingly, I would rate Andrew Garfield as my favourite Peter Parker. He's the best actor to ever have taken on the role. And his performance outshines both Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland. But his films ultimately are lacking. And that's not his fault. It's down to the writing and Sony's interference. But he would have been better playing a more mature, if they'd written him as a more mature Peter Parker, out of school, out of college, this sort of a thing, maybe working for the Daily Bugle. Yeah, a little bit later on in his tenure as Spider-Man would have been perfect. But yeah, so that's them two movies. Then I have the Into the Spider-Verse Blu-ray release, and I did get the 4K release. Now, I got this very cheap because there was no Blu-ray inside. It was a second-hand sale, and they were just selling the 4K with the box. So thusly, I bought it because this is a wonderful film. Without this movie, you wouldn't have got the new Spider-Man film that you've got. This opened the door to the multiverse of Spider-Man, this sort of thing. It was because of this being such a hit that the idea came, or the thought came, let's do a one with the live action characters. So that is a wonderful film. Now, sort of a bit of an aside is obviously I do have the film Venom. 4K release in a Stillbook, like so, and like so. Yeah, wonderful looking Stillbook. I thought I'd include this because here's sort of Spider-Man based, isn't it? And yeah, and why not? I do also have it in a Blu-ray version as well, with a metallically shiny slip. But you never got on the 4K. You did get a slip, but it was just sort of, you know, the Blu-ray had the better slip than what the 4K did for some odd reason here in the UK. But this was a nice metallic-y looking slip. Yeah, very nice. Now, I'll come back to that one in a minute. So then I have Spider-Man Homecoming on Blu-ray. I don't know what happened to the slip to this one. Did it even have a slip? I don't know, I can't recall. But anyway, so Spider-Man Homecoming and the 4K for Spider-Man Far From Home. With a nice slip. But then I have this Stillbook here, which I imported because I just love the Stillbook. It contains, obviously, Homecoming, Far From Home, Into the Spider-Verse, and Venom, all in one Stillbook. That's the J card. That's the back of the Stillbook, like so, with 4 logos, with the front, and obviously inside you got the Venom, Into the Spider-Verse, Homecoming, and No Way Home. Yeah, so very good. I do like that Stillbook a lot. It's just different. Then moving on to another Stillbook, and this is a Stillbook for 4K Stillbook for Spider-Man Homecoming with a lenticular image on the front. Not a particularly great lenticular image. Doesn't really do nothing for me. Obviously underneath it's the same image, sort of with a bit of embossing. Yeah. Stillbook. And then we come on to my other Far From Home release, which is this here. This box release. It's got a button on it. And as you can see, it sort of illuminates. I don't think you can see the colours too well. But you got green and thingy. Let's turn that light off a bit better now. Marginally, but yeah, so it lights up and all this sort of thing to it. So in here, it's a very solid box, nice design. Captain Marvel and Endgame came out in similar releases, which I do have the both of them. So in here you got 4K Stillbook, which is still sealed, of Far From Home. And in here you got this, like, looks like this travel case. Take a look what's inside. Now in here I do have another lenticular, which was on the cover of the 4K Stillbook release, other release that sort of matched that one, so to speak. But what I'd done was I sold the Stillbook on that 4K version when I obtained this 4K version, but I kept a hold of the magnetic lenticular and just put it in this box. Then we have a sort of envelope, and inside we get a number of postcards. Tower Bridge, Houses of Parliament and Westminster Tower, or is it the Elizabeth Tower now, isn't it? Or Big Ben. Big Ben's actually the bell that's inside, not the tower. That's in Venice, in Italy. And again, Venice in Italy. Yeah, so nice sort of glossy cards there that are in that. And then we get 6 badges. 6 pins, 6 badges, or obviously, and one's fallen out, which is the one for Italy. So Italy, UK, United States, what's that, is that France or something? And 2 Spider-Man ones. Yeah, so that's those releases. That's all of my Blu-rays for Spider-Man, Blu-rays and 4Ks. I probably still have DVDs of them kicking around somewhere. Actually, if I open this up, I can tell you now that inside it's going to have some loose discs, like Spider-Man, the new animated series, Spider-Man, the new animated series, and Spider-Man Deluxe Edition disc. So what I'd done was, when I moved from DVD to Blu-ray, because I had a lot of DVDs, I threw away all the cases. Not the artworks. I took them out, the sleeves, and I put them into folders, and I put a lot of my DVDs into like cases, because I didn't have the space and DVD was old. So, but I wanted to keep them. But what I'd do over time is, I went through them again, and I would put the disc loose, DVD disc loose, in with the Blu-ray, just so that it's in the same sort of place. And obviously that Spider-Man animated series, I put in there, so I sort of know where it is if I ever want to watch it. But yeah, so that's all my films and DVDs. So let's take a look at a couple of other collectibles that I've got. Okay, so now, like I said, I'm going to look at some stuff from my comic book collection, and from a couple of collectibles, a couple of statues that I have of Spider-Man. But first up, these are all graphic novels that I have. I do have more elsewhere. I have a lot. I've been reading comics since the mid-1980s. But yeah, these are some graphic novels that I picked up along the way. First being Spider-Man and Silver Sable, with art by Todd McFarlane on the cover. Now, Todd McFarlane is the artist who went on to help create Image Comics. He created the character of Spawn, has written Spawn to this day, drew it a lot back in the day. And he's got his own toy company, McFarlane Toys, which sort of set the stage for the toys, a lot of the toys that you get today. You know, they were fantastically detailed. You know, you're very, very good. He did do toys under the Aliens banner, Predator, RoboCop, Movie Maniacs, so Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, all this sort of a thing. But yeah, so this is Spider-Man and Silver Sable, their first meeting. Silver Sable being a character who's much like Black Widow in a sense. Yeah. Then I have Silver Sable Returns. You know, characters like Silver Sable, you're sort of stepping into C-list characters, D-list characters. She's a character that I wouldn't, mind seeing on screen at some point. I know there was talk of Sony doing a Silver Sable film, her and Black Cat, a long time ago, but obviously it never came to pass. There was lots of rumours. But this is Todd McFarlane's art. A very famous Spider-Man artist in his own right. But yeah, then I have a graphic novel that's a crossover with Dynamite Comics, that being Spider-Man and Red Sonja. Now, I can't remember the goings-on as to why Red Sonja ends up with Spider-Man, but I believe she sort of comes through a sort of portal or something into the MCU world, and thusly teams up with Peter Parker. Yeah, very good. Now, Venom. Now, as you've seen in Venom vs. Carnage, or Venom Let There Be Carnage, sorry, he refers to himself as the Lethal Protector. Now, Venom, when he first came about, was an out-and-out villain, but because of his popularity, they turned him into an anti-hero. This collects the 6-issue miniseries that he first got after appearing in Spider-Man for several years. This is where they sort of made him an anti-hero. That there is the cover of issue 1. When it came out, it was a metallic cover. I do have these as individual comics. All of these I do, actually. Yeah, so now this has art by Mark Bagley. Mark Bagley is another very famous Spider-Man artist who's fantastic again in his own right. You know, he draws a very good Spider-Man and a very good Venom as well. He's he's a very talented artist. I believe he's still working today. And you know, he sort of his Venom is one of the most prolific Venoms, I would say, along with Todd McFarlane. Then we have Venom Returns with a sort of metallic silver mirrory cover, with art by Eric Larson. Now, Eric Larson, again, is a very famous, good comic book artist who left Marvel for Image as well, along with Todd McFarlane, and he created the character of the Savage Dragon, who is a green police officer with a sort of dragon fin on his head. And that comic's still running today. Eric Larson's still involved. Yeah, very, very good. Then we come up to Carnage, Spider-Man Carnage. We all know Carnage from the new film, Cletus Cassidy. Now, Carnage was a character that first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man in a short free-issue story arc. Again, art by the artist of Mark Bagley, who that's his art on the cover. And again, he's a very good comic book artist. And in this book, Spider-Man had to team up with Venom to take on Carnage. They couldn't manage it alone, neither of them. They had to team up to take him down. That's the original cover of the first appearance of Carnage, like so. Oh, actually, I say a lie. Cletus Cassidy did appear in an issue before. It was in like a one-page back bit, and you saw him get the Venom symbiote on him. So, yeah, so, you know, that was his sort of cameo appearance just prior to the primary story. And your other covers were like that and like that. Yeah, so very, very good. Next up, we have Spider-Man Torment by Todd McFarlane, again, who we've previously discussed. Now, Todd McFarlane, like I said, went on to Image, created Spawn, and this reprints the first 5 or 6 issues of Spider-Man, which was a series that Todd McFarlane drew for Spider-Man. You've got a cover gallery at the back. This comic sold millions of copies. That was issue 1 cover, and it sold millions. It was a very, very big hit. Todd McFarlane covers, you know, he's a fantastic artist. Yeah, Torment. And then we have a hardback of a very famous story from Spider-Man's run called Craven's Last Hunt. Again, as you can see, Spider-Man's got the black suit in this comic. Now, let's just have a quick look. Introduction, chapter 1. Again, this was a fantastic story. Obviously, revolving around the character of Craven. Yeah, Mike Zeck is the artist in this. Now, Mike Zeck actually drew the first miniseries of The Punisher as well. Again, a fantastic artist in his own right, and yeah, very, very good. Just 2 other comics from my collection. I say I've got loads of Spider-Man comics, got hundreds and hundreds of them. They were just graphic novels. They're all boxed away. Thusly, I can't really get to them. But the graphic novels I've got on a bookshelf. But yeah, so first up is a Cgc graded 9.4 issue of The Amazing Spider-Man 202. The reason I've got this is because it came available to me, and it's got the Punisher in it, and I'm a big Punisher fan, my favourite Marvel character. Now, Cgc Grading is a comic gets taken to this company, and several individuals grade the comic. They'll give it a grading, and then it gets sealed into a plastic tablet like this with your sort of certificate of authenticity at the top. And you know, it remains in the state that it is when you've taken it to them. So it ain't like you've taken it away and there's been a potential of any more damage done to it. It is sealed, and thusly you get that. It shows you how old it is because Star Trek the Motion Picture advert on the back. So yeah, so that's the Amazing Spider-Man issue 202. Guest starring the Punisher. Now, this is the crown jewel of my comic collection. Number one, it is a Spider-Man comic, and number two, it is the first appearance of the Punisher. This is Amazing Spider-Man issue 129 from February 1974. It's graded at a 6.5 because it's got off-white to white pages. First appearance of the Punisher and the Jackal. Now, again, shows you how old it is. Evel Knievel. Do you remember that toy bike? Anyone of my sort of era of age would probably remember that, and a bit older. So yeah, this is Amazing Spider-Man issue 110, first appearance of the Punisher. Now, not gloating or anything, this comic is worth about 1,500 quid, £1,500 in the state that it's in. I say the state it's in. It's not in a state, but in the condition that it's in, sealed like this, about £1,500. If you could find a buyer for it, obviously it's all dependent on if someone's prepared to pay the price for something that is that much. Obviously, I didn't pay that much for it when I bought this. I'll be honest, I paid about £200 for it years ago. But it's a fantastic part of my collection. It is like the holy grail of my Punisher collection. I've done videos on my Punisher collection. I've got everything Punisher comic-wise. But this is just that it's magnificent. I'm very happy to have that in my collection. So I'm going to take a look at two collectible items now, two statues that I've got. Okay, so these are not statues as in made out of a polyresin or anything like that sort of thing. They are made out of a PVC, so they're somewhat cheaper than standard statues that I've showed off. So the first one I've got is this Spider-Man here. Now, you can see the size of it in my hand. Now, this is actually from one of the Spider-Man games. I'm not sure what game it is. I don't play Spider-Man games or anything like that. I'm not a gamer. But I liked this statue. I thought it was very good. I liked the detailing. I liked the white of the spider on it. And you can see this suit in Into the Spider-Verse when they go down into Peter Parker's bat cave, so to speak, and there's a load of suits on show in the background. You do see this one in there. Yeah, so very nice statue, very highly detailed. Like I said, they're only a plastic, a PVC, but they look fantastic. They look really, really good, and that's that one. So last but not least, should I say last but not least? No, actually, I'll show you two more. Hold on. Because we're talking about Spider-Man, and I've shown some Venom stuff, and Venom is Spider-Man, and we know what's happened at the end of a couple of these recent films. So then I have this Venom, again, PVC statue, like this. You can see the size of it. I'm holding it in my hands. Eddie Brock underneath with the symbiote sort of forming its way around him. As opposed to it being a completed Venom version. Yeah, so again, very nice, very nice. A lot of detailing to it. Looks wonderful. Then to accompany that, I do have a Carnage again. Now you can see how Carnage differs in that his face is almost more beak-like. You know, more of a sort of a sharper edge to it, which you did get in the film Let There Be Carnage. There was that sort of slight difference when you do look. So again, a fantastic, again PVC. That's all it is. So they're pretty lightweight, quite durable. They just look really nice on the shelf. And then now for my last piece, which is sat behind me. Fantastic one, and I love this. Infinity War, Spider-Man, in his Iron Spider suit with the things coming out of his back. There was a nice scene in No Way Home where Peter Parker fought Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus obviously got his arms and Peter Parker's got these, so they're sort of very similar in that sense. So as you can see, Spider-Man sort of stood on this like rock stuff, and again highly detailed. You know, this is a really nice piece, but again PVC, PVC Gallery, Marvel Gallery, I think they're called, Diamond Gallery Select or something like that. You can find them on Amazon. But yeah, so that's that one, and again a nice, lovely size, very very nice piece. That's my favourite of my Spider-Man statues. Just looks fantastic. Anyway, so that was it. Just a quick look at some of my Spider-Man stuff because the new film's out, and why not? This is AJ. Please consider hitting the subscribe button if you want to see more like that. Don't forget, check out my reviews, my rankings for Spider-Man. There's a wealth of stuff. Just scroll down, you see it. Anyway, this is AJ. Thanks for watching, and take care. See you on the next one. Goodbye.